really client experience and results and balancing those things. Cindy is one of the world's most requested keynote speakers and leading voices in customer service. She's known for jumpstarting courageous initiatives, and the theme of today's meeting is courageous leadership. Working across industry, geography, and in all functional areas, Cindy's message of courage enables every attendee to create the success they want in both personal and professional lives. We talk a lot about balance, so a lot of what you're going to hear today applies in the workplace and outside of the workplace. Cindy, many of you have probably seen Cindy speak at WBA events. She's also appeared on TEDx, and in the crowning achievement of her career, she has most recently spoken at manager events in our own Columbia Willamette market region and right here in GPSMR. If you have any colleagues who have seen her, I'm sure you've already heard about it. I asked one of my peers about her experience with Cindy prior to the event a couple of weeks ago, and now that I've seen her material myself, you'll understand that Cindy is an excellent and engaging speaker. She's full of enthusiasm and passion. And it's clear that she's well versed in the subject matter of courage, and she talks through the different types of courage that we all have. As an attendee, the whole time, I promise you're going to be thinking about how these things apply to you, and you'll be inspired to be a more courageous leader. So team, grab your pens, grab your legal pads, take some good notes. And Cindy, thank you so much for joining us, partner.
Thank you so much, Rob. I love that intro. That was like one of the best intros ever. That was perfect. Thank you so much. And thanks to everybody for being here. My only sadness is that I wasn't here for the full session before mine. It sounded like it was amazing and lots of great sharing and talking about what we've all been through, what's working. I think most of you saw me speak. Was it just last week? A week or two ago, I can't remember when it was. When you're talking only to a camera, you never can tell time anymore. But when I talked a lot about courageous leadership and the types of courage that we have and things that we can be thinking about as we're entering into this next phase of whatever this is that we're going through, today's going to be a little bit different. Today, I wanted to give you all some kind of blocking and tackling information about how we deal with a world that's been turned upside down, but as it relates to our customers and our employees that report directly to us. Because I know we've got ABMs on the call and supervisors on the call. And what I really want to talk about today is kind of going from the big picture of the 4 types of courage and things that we can think about more into how do we now deal with this next normal. Now, I know you all have been in offices and been in your branches and been in your locations throughout the pandemic. So you have a very different viewpoint on what this next new normal is going to look like. But what I thought would be really interesting for us to think about today is taking all this information that you're hearing from your senior execs and during the branch manager event last week, and realize that this is an opportunity for us to reset everything. And I think Lisa talked a little bit about this morning. It's resetting how you think about your own personal development, your own self-development, how you think about how you build relationships with your customers, with your employees, with even your community. And I love the example that somebody shared about, there was a loose dog and all these people came running out of their offices to try and help the loose dog. I think there's a part of us that has reset emotionally into what we need to be doing for ourselves, for each other, for our customers, for our employees, and for our communities. So this is a golden opportunity for yourself to really think about resetting your expectations and your ideas about, in particular, what a great customer experience looks like. I think we haven't even begun to see the ramifications of how much our own behavior as customers have changed. And it's an opportunity, especially in an industry like banking, where you didn't have a lot of opportunity to change the customer experience. I mean, remember when we were talking about, digital experiences for customers, we were like, well, that's 5 years. It'll take us 5 years to get there. Now everybody's digital. We have an opportunity now, much more so than any time in the recent past, or one would argue in banking period, to rethink what a great customer experience looks like and how to navigate it in these new times. So I thought what would be interesting for you is for you to hear from me about everything that we're learning about customer experience from our, wild cross section of clients. And we have everybody from, the Mayo Clinic to Raytheon and Dow to Alaska Airlines to KeyBank. So we have this great cross section overview of what customers, regardless of what they're buying, are thinking about. And probably the biggest change that COVID has brought to our customers, and when I talk about customers, I'm talking about us too, because I think you'll find in your own behavior, you see this. But the number one change in what drives customer loyalty now and customer purchase now is this trend, and it's the care about me trend. This is absolutely essential for companies to show through their actions, words, behaviors, even products and services, that they care about you, care about me as a customer. This can be something as simple as asking people how they are. It can be as simple as making sure all your signage in your branch about, here's our hand sanitizer, please stay 6 feet apart, we have our partitions up, et cetera, et cetera. It's all about making customers feel cared about. And what's really interesting about this trend is part of that is making sure that you're sharing with them all you can do for them. I know somebody in the process of this week has shared with you that new stat, which I think is amazing, that 66% of customers want advice from their bank. I guarantee you that number was not that 15 months ago. But with that number in play, this care about me idea isn't just about physically caring about them and making sure, we have COVID protocols in place, et cetera. It's about making sure that you and your people are providing the information customers need to do the right thing and make the right choices for themselves. So I think this care about me idea, and I'm going to give you an example that's outside of banking that's pretty stunning. This care about me idea really started at the beginning of COVID, but now it's exploded in how customers are making decisions about where they're spending their money, or in your case, where they're placing their money. We have a client that is the largest tire chain in the country. And one of the things that they implemented about 5 months ago is calling all of their best customers in each of their stores. They've identified, let's call it the top 30%, I'm sure is just like you guys do in your metrics. And rather than calling them or having the call center call them to pitch them on, some discount or some free thing, all of the store managers called 10 customers a morning. And all they did was, in most cases, of course, you can imagine, leave messages that just asked how they were doing and wanted to share with them that they were thinking about them and hoped that they had made it through this crazy time well, safe, and happy. That was it. It was maybe 10 seconds of a message. No pitch, no discussion about an appointment, no discounts, no nothing. On average, the stores that implemented this daily to 10 customers a day had a, wait for it, 600% increase in their sales. 600%. Now, this was 6 months ago. This was in, before we all started kind of going out and doing more things. So in my mind, it's even more stunning. But I also think it was a nice little window. But just imagine what could happen if your branches engaged with people that way. If you engaged with, frankly, with your employees in that way. And this trend actually pertains to employees just as much as it does customers, by the way. But this idea of caring about me is probably the thing that's going to drive the most business and loyalty for you over the next 6 to 12 months. So that's the first trend. That's the biggie. And this is a new one compared to what would have been on this slide a year ago. Second piece of this is, boy, time is still the currency. You have to have good process. easy technology. You have to make things simple for people, because time is not just the same new currency that it has been forever. But just think about how all of our lives have changed. Amazon has totally changed our understanding of how long it takes to, I now think something that I want, and magically it shows up on my door. I feel like I don't even need to go to the computer. I think they have a chip in my head. So you think about how important it is to make things simple, easy, and seamless. So process still has a huge piece of this puzzle for you as you're driving loyalty. And most important, I think, for this group especially, is that relationships are everything. People make decisions to stay or go, to spend more or spend nothing, to continue a long-term relationship solely based on their belief that you care about them, you make it easy, and that you've formed a relationship with them. Now, I want to be crystal clear about this. A relationship doesn't mean I get together with them once a week for lunch. We'll get to the in-person thing here in a second. Relationships are about selling and providing people what they need and want in a seamless fashion. Those relationships, and you all know word of mouth is even more important now than it ever has been, which is ironic based on technology. People refer people all the time. If you want to have somebody come to you as a wealth management client, as a large client, as a small business, especially, hello, I'm one of those. All you need is to have someone refer you to someone. And usually they don't even shop it. They just go to you because you have that trusted advisor flavor from the person who referred you. Now, the interesting thing about COVID is that, crisis really exaggerates and accelerates relationships, both good and bad. So this is an opportunity. You guys hit it out of the park with PPP. Have you gone back to those folks? Ask them how they're doing. Do the care about me idea and just say, hey, we're just checking in on you. Hope you're doing well. No reason for the call other than that. By keeping top of mind with people, even if they don't respond back, by showing that dialogue, that improves your ability to get those referrals. And I could do a whole hour on, by the way, ask people to make that referral for you. I love making referrals of companies that I love working with, but I don't always think about it. My personal banker, who I finally got to know after 25 years of banking with this bank, because she killed herself to get my PPP loan through, she sent me a note about a month ago. It was like, hey, checking in on you. I know that you were very pleased with how we handled your PPP loan. If you think of anybody else who might be interested in banking with us, please send them directly to me. I want to make sure they're well taken care of. It would have never occurred to me, really. It wouldn't have been in front of mine unless somebody asked me, hey, I need to get a new bank, but whoever does that, right? But I sent that out to 30 people on my list. 30, because I do love that bank. I do love her. And my bet is she'll get half of those as new clients. So finding a way to use those relationships and accelerate them can make a huge difference to the bottom line. But bad relationships are also accelerated, so you have to pay really close attention to it. So these three big trends that we're seeing from customers, why does knowing this even matter? Well, here's the most shocking statistic I think you'll find in your meeting that you're going through. Frederick Reichheld, who is kind of the guru of customer loyalty, he does a study every year, and he wants to understand of people who defect from a company, a product, or a service and go to a like company or product or service, how many of them are actually satisfied? And this should terrify all of you. 88% of customers who defect from a product or service and go to another similar product or service are actually satisfied. What that means is that you need so much more than simple satisfaction to keep people coming back. Now, that doesn't mean you have to wow them and exceed their expectations. It really doesn't. It just means that you have to consistently make good on your promises with them. That's what creates exceptional loyalty. It's not about wowing them all the time. And if you are consistently making good on your promises 100% of the time, then go for it, wow them. But if you're not doing that, shoot for that first, because that's what builds that trusting relationship and dialogue. So what can you guys do to really become the banker of the future and take these 3 trends to build the business of your organization and to build your team? So I've got a great handout for you that I sent out to Tom and Megan, and they'll get it to you, that actually have exercises in it for you on these. But I wanted to run through these quickly, and then there's a lot more detail in the handout. But first thing that you can do, and I apologize, my computer's being glitchy. First thing you can do, I think, is change your perspective. And I know that sounds weird, but I heard you guys mentioning this when I came on the call. You've spent the last 16 months or 15 months or however the heck long it's been reacting to everything around you. You've reacted to, new CDC guidelines, what we can and can't do, people who can come in, people who are ill, reacting to what clients are asking of us in this weird hybrid COVID world. Now's your chance to reset and to take a breath and to realize that your customers, both current and future, need you. They want you to help them. And if I know anything as a small business client and a wealth client to my bank, I don't know enough to know what to ask as a client. I need you to come to me using your active listening skills and really being great at questioning about where I am in my life, what I need, what I'm looking for, to be able to help me by selling me more of what you do. And I know that sounds crazy, but you are in a business. It's almost as if you were a doctor. If I went into my doctor and couldn't really articulate what was going on, you would ask me a bunch of questions and then provide potential solutions. You're a doctor, but for my finances. So never feel bad about that. Don't feel like you're selling. You're actually helping me by sharing your expertise with me. So I think that's the first thing you have to do. Second thing is you have to choose to be seen. And I think this is so vitally important for us right now. You have to get great at being on camera. And here's a stat that'll get you going. And I might have mentioned this in my previous session with you guys, but we just did a huge research project with one of our biggest clients. It's a global client. And they discovered, we did it across their organization, and they discovered that when you are on camera, even if the other person isn't on camera, you are 66% more likely to sell them what you're selling, to get them to do what you're asking them to do. So it works for employees as well. 66% more likely if you are seen. So either certainly, I know we're kind of going back to in-person. I don't know what that all looks like in your geographic area. We're not here really, but where I am, but asking your clients, asking them, rather than doing a phone call, see if they'd be comfortable doing Zoom. They don't even have to be on camera, as long as you're on camera. I don't know about any of you, but I had to actually, my Zoom or my internet wasn't working well, and I actually had to have a regular phone call with one of my clients recently, and it felt so weird. It felt like I felt bad because I'm so now used to seeing everybody, even though prior to COVID, I was always on the phone with them. But you have to be seen now. It is vital, both if you are leading people, if you are talking to your employees, and for customers. But feel free to ask them what they're comfortable with, but you will do better in your results if you're seen. Third piece is we have to change the language. And I think this is the most important thing, both as it relates to employees, but as it also relates to customers. I want to start with the employee piece first. For the employee piece, we have to get back to inspiring people. Now, everybody was talking when we were on the call earlier, and I wish I could have been here for the full time because I bet I could have come up with examples. but we've spent time reacting. We've spent time struggling. We've spent time in non-optimal situations for over a year. It's up to us as leaders to start talking about how we can make a difference for people. If you want to change the world in your location, if you want to drive your results, you don't do it by talking about the metrics. Yeah, okay, all the senior leaders on the call just like rolled their eyes and went, oh my God, how do we clean up on aisle 4, clean up on aisle 4? But you don't drive results through talking about the metrics. You drive results by helping people see how what they're doing with those metrics helps people. The reason why PPP worked is because you weren't talking about a loan metric or a closing metric or a calling metric. You were talking about, and somebody said it right when I jumped on the call, keeping people afloat, helping businesses keep their employees employed. And because we connected the head and the heart with that goal, people did everything they could to get those loans through. So how do we take that learning and apply it to our day-to-day work? It's up to us as leaders. I look at you in your weekly, and I'm going to get the acronym wrong, FPM meetings. I look at your FPM meetings, and I know you don't lead them all the time, but maybe you can share this recording with the manager above you, who might lead them more so than you do. But thinking through, how do I connect the metrics and our results to something bigger? How do I make people feel like they have a meaningful role? So rather than talking about loan closings or production numbers, you start talking about, how are all of our PPP loan people doing? How can we continue to help them as they get to this next phase? What do we want to focus on? And you notice that we language, but it's about how can we help them? How can we help the customer? How can we help each other? But getting conscious about your language, this is something I could spend a whole day on, and we do in some of our leadership trainings, is creating language that connects not just the head, which is the metric side of our brains, but the heart, so that we can make better decisions and work together as a team in a bigger way. So that's the third thing we can do. Fourth thing we can do, and I said this on my last session, and it's worth saying again, we've got to celebrate and learn from the successes. Part of the dirty underbelly of us reacting to everything is we tend to let the good things slide by us, and we'll, spend 18 hours in a meeting talking about the things that didn't go well. What keeps people motivated is by winning. So you have to constantly be pointing out where we're winning, and don't wait for the big things. There's a win every single day. There's maybe a new skill that somebody who works for you is learning that they did a great job on. Maybe you had a call go great with a customer. Somebody you saw in the branch had to diffuse a customer and they did a great job. Point those things out with clear, specific language, because it's in those successes. That's a coaching tool for you. If you're calling those things out in those meetings on Mondays, or if you have morning huddles, if you're calling those things out and saying, AJ I want to call out AJ for a minute. He did such an exceptional job diffusing that customer. He spoke to her in such a great, calm, easy tone. He listened to her and used reflective language back to her. And he was able to accomplish finally what she wanted, that it was her own fault that it wasn't happening anyway, but he finally rounded the corner and got that done. Great job, AJ. When I celebrate successes in that way, it coaches everybody else in the room. So it's a way for you to show what it is you're looking for and allowing people to learn from those successes. So I think as you go into this next phase, you really have to own this, this quote. This is my favorite quote. Everything you want is just outside your comfort zone. So maybe being on camera all the time isn't your comfort zone. Push through that, because everything you want for yourself, your self-development, your results, is just doing things a little bit differently, which is going to feel uncomfortable. But it's in that discomfort that we stretch, and that we, as Lisa was saying, that we grow into the leaders that we wanted to be. I think one of the best leaders that I've worked with, and I've had a corporate career for 15 years. I've been doing this for 20 years. And probably the best leader I ever met was Beth Mooney, who's the former CEO of KeyBank. And she had a quote in her office that she looked at every day in her office that said, "We are the leaders we've been waiting for." And I think that's true. It just takes doing a few things differently, both for ourselves, for our employees, and most importantly, for our customers. So with that, I want to open it up. I've got 2 minutes left for just any questions that you have, thoughts, something you want me to dive a little deeper into. And thank you, Nicole, for that. I love it. Because it is, I don't know enough to know what to ask, so I need your help. So I'm glad you pointed that out. Thank you. I love it, Susie. I'm right there with you. I've got a big poster right here that says, "We are the leaders we've been waiting for." Because if not us, who? So with that, I'll open it back up and open it up also to Rob. Anybody who has a question, you can unmute and ask, or you can ask me in chat, whatever works best for you. Nothing, no heckling, nothing. Oh, you guys, you're letting me off the hook too easy. Come on, make me work for it.
I have one question, Cindy, more out
Perfect.
of curiosity.
Yeah.
But you mentioned, or you show that stat that 88% of clients who defect are actually satisfied. They're just not loyal.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they leave then?
So I'll give you an example. Imagine you go into your favorite restaurant and you go into your favorite restaurant. You always go there. Just pretend it's not COVID, because this doesn't work in a COVID world. Go into your favorite restaurant and everything's a little off. They seat you in a weird part of the restaurant. The service was slow. They brought out the wrong meal on the first time. Nothing horrible. There wasn't like a fly in your soup or anything, but just a little off. You go out in the parking lot and you talk to your family and you're like, "God, that was weird." How many of you would go back to that restaurant again? Raise your hands. Or chat me in the chat box. How many of you would go back? Yeah, usually it's about 80 to 90%. Now, what if that was your first time in that restaurant? How many of you would go back if it was your first time? Probably none of us. And you tell 500 of your favorite friends on Facebook how much it sucked. That's the difference, is when you have people who have repeatedly made their promises, you give them that second chance. "Oh, Walter, you're such a nicer person than me." He doesn't get a second chance. Not for if you have a relationship with them, you can. But Boz, to your question, the reason they leave is because they're simply satisfied. They don't love you enough. They don't have a deep enough relationship with you to not have something else pulled away. And oh, by the research is that when people say they're leaving because they got a better rate or lower cost or any of that, only 8% of them are telling you the truth. The rest are leaving you because of something went wrong in the relationship. It was a very long-winded answer to your short question.
That's great. Cindy, thank you so much for joining us today. We've learned a lot. Appreciate hearing your wisdom here. I especially stood out to me is the opportunity we have right now, team, and that is that many of our clients have not been in to see us or heard from us in a pretty long time. And so that almost is like the first time they've gone to that restaurant.
That's
and so we have a chance to reset or to retain or to rebuild that trust. And that, so the very next time you see that client, that needs to be a pretty special time. And taking that check or processing the transaction that came in to do that, that doesn't stand out. We need to make sure that we're connecting. We need to make sure that that's a launch point into building that deeper conversation because they're looking for that. And I think we've all had those clients that over the last couple of months have come in and mostly just to chat because they're lacking that social interaction. They've not had that. So this is our opportunity to really shine. Cindy, I want to thank you for the time you spent with us. Team, can we give Cindy a round of applause?
Thanks, everybody. It was my pleasure as always. And Amanda, I love you. Thanks for that comment. And there is a great companion guide that's got some exercises in there for you to make those 4 steps a reality for you in where you work and how you work. So with that, I'll sign off. Thanks, everybody.
Team, we are now going to jump into what is always one of my favorite parts of these summits, and that is our opportunity to recognize you for efforts last year in 2020. And in planning this, we had an awards committee, and they came with initial presentation, and they wanted to issue 70 awards. Because there's so many great things happening out there, and fortunately, Ida came to the rescue and said, there's no way I can order 70 awards, and that would take like 2 hours of celebration. That's definitely going to put Rob to sleep. And so what we've done is recognize just some of the top performances, but we want to acknowledge that there are so many more, and everyone on this call could certainly be receiving a giant plaque for something that was done in 2020. But we're going to celebrate some of our top performers, and so excited to do this. Alice, I will turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you, Tom. And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I have to say first, it is so great to see so many of you. I've missed seeing all of you in our in-person SOS, also now known as OE meetings. And so hopefully in the near future, we'll have the chance to all reconnect once again. But like I said, I have the distinct pleasure of kicking us off this morning or this afternoon in the awards presentation. And our first award is the Find, Grow, and Keep. The criteria for this award is awarded to the top referrer at the top branch with the highest dollar over goal in partner referral income for all of GPSMR. Tom, can you give me a drum roll, please? And our winner is Kelly Eilertson. Yay, congratulations to our Ballard Neighbor Hub and to especially Kelly Eilertson. This Kelly is at our Ballard Neighbor Hub, and Ballard was 238,479 over goal. And to top that off, Kelly was the top contributor. So congratulations, Kelly. I can't see you on my camera, but I can't wait to celebrate you, and congratulations to the entire team there of helping our clients to continue to find, grow, and keep. Now, I'd like to pass it off to Richie, who's going to share the next award in Partnering Success.
Yeah, I have the pleasure of awarding our Partnering Success Awards. This award is given to any branch in GPSMR who met or exceeded their sold referral points goal in 2020. So our winner for Metro West is Silverdale. I can actually see Rebecca, so thank you. Our Metro East winners are Maple Valley, Fife, Kent, Sumner, Federal Way, and Enumclaw. Great job, Metro East. And now I'll pass it over to Monique to bring it home.
Thank you, Richie. I get the pleasure of announcing the winners for Upper Puget Sound. So we have Arlington, Everett, Burlington, Evergreen Way, High School Road, Redmond, Snohomish, Monroe, Bellevue 112, Bellingham, Ballard Neighbor Hub, Second and Columbia, and Winslow Way. So exciting to see so many of our teams achieving this goal. Great job to everyone, and we're very excited to see you on this list. I will now pass it back to Tom.
Wow, I could see you, Monique, Alice, and Rebecca just beaming on that one. We could, AJ, I think next time out, we could save some money. We just give one award to the UPS team on that one. Holy smokes, guys, that's incredible. Let's do one more round of applause for all of our winners there. Well, I had to wrestle to get to award this last piece. And I would tell you, some of your leaders on GPSMR are a whole lot stronger than you think. Particularly Marcy. I don't know what she does, if she's just in there lifting weights while she's looking at credit all day, but wow, she can pack a punch. So I get to give out our leadership excellence award in Community Leaders Award. So this is really based on the top individual performer when it comes to community service impact. That includes volunteer hours and impact. And what I can say about this individual is that this isn't the first time that we've awarded this award to her. And the work she does is, I will say, relentless. And how she manages a full-time job, a secondary full-time job in volunteerism with the Boy Scouts, and volunteerism with at least half a dozen other organizations that I'm aware of, putting new tires on her Jeep about every 2 months, and occasionally making time for her family is just incredible. And so the award, with over 327 hours logged, is Miss Susie Gillis. So Susie, congratulations. Again, everybody, thank you for all your hard work in 2020. We wouldn't be where we are without you. And we know who keeps the lights on in the branches, quite literally. And just want to say an extra thank you. We could have come up with some additional categories, and all of you deserve an award and so much more. Tried to convince the executive team that we should just shut down the bank for a week and take everybody to Rebecca's house over on the Caribbean. But unfortunately, that when that was taken to the board, customers revolted. They couldn't go a whole week without you. So instead, we'll just have continued gratitude. Team, we've covered a lot of ground today. We heard from Lisa, and what I hope many of you took away from that was that spend time to develop yourself. When you think about you're flying an airplane, one of the things they tell you, besides how to put your seatbelt on, and if you're in an Alaska flight, they have that kind of fun commercial song dance thing. But what they do after that is they share that in case of severe turbulence, those oxygen masks come down, and you put your own on first before you can put a mask on anybody else. And that's tough. If you're a parent out there, I'm not sure that I would follow those instructions quite that well. But the reality is, if we don't practice self-development, what are we going to have to give to our teens? And so that's a really important piece. And I encourage you all to take that into your own hands. And that means sometimes having a courageous outreach to someone to ask a question, or to start a mentorship. A couple of things I want to discuss as we close out our time together today. And the first is to acknowledge some of the challenges that we're going through right now. Our teams have been working hard for a long time. We did more to stay open than our peers, and that takes a toll. Our team is tired, you're tired, we're tired. What I want to say is that we are moving to a time where some of the challenges will start to dissipate, but we're not there yet. And so first, I want to acknowledge that. I also want to acknowledge that we're down some key positions across the footprint, and that one of the most valuable things we can do is retain the team members we have and go and find other excellent team members. And when you think about importance over these next couple of months, this will be one of the key activities we do, which is to invite great people out in the community to be able to come do some of the things that we do here. One consideration I would hope we all think about is that when we're looking to replace maybe a CSS or a personal banker, that we think about what we will need into the future, and not just what we needed in the past in those positions. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. Also, it's becoming increasingly challenging to find banking experience in some of those positions. One of the things that's been helpful for me as I've worked to recruit, first off, is that everybody. And Fran, I apologize because you had a new team member at your branch the other day, and took just a moment to ask him if he had any friends, family members, or coworkers that may maybe looking for a career at a bank. He didn't at the moment, but you know, whoever we can talk to, it is really important. And look for these things when you're interviewing somebody. Look for character and look for capacity, right? Because you know how to be a banker. You can teach those skills better than anybody. You can't teach someone to smile. You can't teach them to want to converse with people. You can't teach them to show up to work. Well, you can maybe manage that, but you can't teach them to do the right thing naturally. It's also hard to train somebody up that doesn't have the capacity or the desire to learn. And so those are the things that I've always looked for. And I hope we think about that as we're making hiring decisions. Other piece on there is you actively own those requisitions. If they're open, they're your requisitions. Recruiting's helping us. And check in, and don't be afraid to call people, not for a formal interview, but for a quick check. Spend the 10 to 15 minutes to see if they're worth a formal interview. Don't let the resume decide that. Recently had a scenario where we hired an individual that hadn't filled a resume out in 24 years, right? I haven't ridden a bike in about 24 years, and so I'm sure I'm pretty bad at it. That doesn't mean I couldn't figure it out if given the right opportunity. And so think about, give the person a chance to be exceptional, give them a call, don't let that resume talk completely to them. Our third headwind, and this is a question that's been raised, and Chris and Clint took on a little bit, but it's you know, in the environment and the cycle we're in, you know, there's some choices that Columbia Bank is making in order to keep the name on the door, in order to control our destiny. And so, Megan, can you bring up the slide on net interest margin? And I'm going to take just a second to talk about this, and then really talk about more what's happening because of it, because I think that's the more important thing. Through the pandemic, and through PPP and clients wanting to keep more cash on hand for the unknown, GPSMR has gained $2.3 billion in deposits. $2.3 billion in deposits. It wasn't but a handful of years ago that CB was $2.3 billion in deposits. So you all have gained 6 or 8 year older Columbia Bank in deposits in the last 15 months. That is incredible. I think that's worth a round of applause right there, because we know that's a lot of accounts opened. That's a lot of money moving to and from, and a lot of conversations. Right now, our average cost of funds is around 5 basis points. In fact, that's actually come down just a little bit to 4 basis points since we made this slide. But we're at 5 basis points. Our cost of funds, if we were to gain it, is around 500 per million. So gaining that 2.3 billion, and I can tell you since this slide, that number's even come up. By gaining that 2.3 billion, we've taken on an additional 1.15 million in interest expense. That's a lot of money. Now, that's just on the cost of funds piece. We have choices, and there are options to put it to work. For example, right now we have about 500 million at the Fed earning 10 basis points. So we're making about 1,000 per million. So there's a really tight spread there. And of course, this has no overhead, no cost of operation. We can invest the money in the investment pool, buying some bonds. You know, we earned about 1.6 to 1.7 on that. We can also lend the money out. You know, traditionally that's what banks do. Bruce is doing a head nod, maybe even one of these like Hard Rock. I don't even know what that is, dancing around type of things, because that's what he loves to do. And when we do that, we earn a spread of around 3%. You know, interest rates are low. That spread can often be larger, but that's where we're at right now. Also, we can help the clients put it to use for them by getting it off the balance sheet onto CB Financial. Of course, you know, we're paying less than 5 basis points on deposits, and there are vehicles out there that can help our clients earn more money. You know, we need to be courageous and ask them what the purpose is of those funds, what their plans are. And right now, that CB Financial initiative is so important, because these clients, they're aware that they're not earning money because they've done it for a long time in the savings, and they're actively looking at different options. If we are at the table, we can provide an option with the team in our CB financial consultants that are better than others in the industry. Our response rate by clients on that has been exceptional. Clients are excited for the outreach, and many of them are looking to set up appointments into the future. And by getting that money off the balance sheet, in 2CB Financial, we earn some fee income, but we also don't pay that pay the interest expense. So it's helpful in both ways. Megan, would you take the slide down? Right now, I've got my mouse, I'm kind of clicking so I can bring it over and kind of see people's faces, but then also look at the slide at the same time. And let's be honest, I'm not that agile. And so it's been a challenge. I explain this only to help understand why we've taken the stance we have on a couple of things. And one of those has been really challenging. It's been challenging to me personally. I know it's been challenging to many of you, and that's in raise amounts and merit increases. And what we've done is budget that at around 2% on the year. And that's lower than we've done at times. And we've needed to really manage to that. And that's tough because your teams, everybody on this call, and many people that are on this call work their fingers to the bone in 2020 and even now to get us through that. We are doing that in order to help take care of Columbia Bank and to make sure that you don't see some of the things other banks have done in response. I know some friends at other banks that maybe they've done larger raises, but they've also done layoffs. They've also gone in and said, hey, we're going to take and close X% of our branches in order to save funds. Or we're going to spin off our mortgage department or do all these things that maybe are really short-sighted. Columbia Bank's taking a different approach. We're taking the approach where we're going to look at our people as our primary resource, and we're going to know that we need everybody into the future. Instead, we're going to play a little bit tight right now and trust that our teams will step up, that our clients will notice that difference. We'll be able to bring additional teams clients into the fold, and we'll grow our way through this. We're positioning for the next 10 years and beyond, not just today. Branches continue to be an important distribution model for us, and we will never see branches go away at Columbia Bank. We're looking to maximize all of our resources, and I just want to take a moment to explain that, because I think it's important to understand why the headwind is and what we can do about it. When you think about that future and what that looks like, in the next 5 to 7 years, we're building Columbia Bank to really be about what clients want into the future. And so you think about it, if a new branch being built, we have Blue Bellevue, which we get to formally announce here really soon. We've been saying that for forever. Rebecca's probably sending me a nasty gram right as I'm saying this, but there's not going to be a huge teller line on Blue Bellevue. Why is that? Because that's not what our clients are there for anymore. We don't need a massive teller line. Does that mean we're not going to take cash or checks? Of course not. We will take cash, we'll take checks, we'll cash bonds, we'll do all those things. We're even considering safe boxes. All these things will happen in these branches, but we're not building these branches around that, because that's not what's most important to our clients. That's not what they come to Columbia Bank to get. They come to Columbia Bank to receive a better advice from a better banker who will go further for the clients. And so that's what that piece is. So that's what we want to look like into the future. And to get there, we need some assistance from technology. We need to streamline what we have to do to keep the branch afloat every day right now. And with things like GL automation, et cetera, the goal is to free up your time so you can repurpose that into something else. I would highly suggest we repurpose that into building bigger and deeper relationships with our clients. And so that's where the future really looks like for banking in general. And I'm excited for that at Columbia Bank. I know change is tough. And Lisa talked about it and Cindy talked about it. And so they stole a whole bunch of my thunder. And so what I thought I would share instead of points is that two things. First off, I've experienced a lot of change in my life. And there have been times where I fought that change. And there's been times where I've embraced it. When I embraced it, I moved quickly through it and improved at a more rapid manner. When I fought it, I eventually got on board, but I was behind everybody else. thinking about who here has ever lived outside of Washington, say the Midwest. Myself, I've lived in Montana. AJ, I think that's Central Oregon. There's some snow out there, right? So you think about driving, and when a new driver, and sometimes they have those bumper stickers, and so to avoid them. But when a new driver first experiences a loss of control when driving, the first response is to turn the wheel away from the slide. You're trying to run away from it. You're trying to escape the slide, right? So they're trying to resist that change, but it doesn't help them maintain the course at all. It only takes the car longer to get back on the course, right? You see this a little bit every time it snows in Western Washington, right? Sometimes when it rains in Western Washington, I don't understand that. It rains all the time. People can't drive in it. But experienced drivers really understand that when you start the slide, that the first step to recover is to really steer in the direction of the slide. You got to shift your momentum, and you've got to roll with the slide before you can ever correct your course. So leading through change is really like trying to drive through that slide. The first step is to really let go of what was in the past, looking forward into the future. You got to move with that new momentum, and that's the most challenging part. In banking and really across all industries, we're really ripe with change. That disruption is imminent, and the biggest choice we get to make is: do we steer into the change or that slide and start a new course more quickly than others? I know that's a lot. Team, I want to pause for a moment to just say thank you again. I think Amy is trying to collect money every time I say thank you in this call in order to really propel Metro East into another Warm Hearts victory this next year. So Amy, I'll have to write a check because I still occasionally write those. Zelle, I guess Zelle's the thing these days, but thank you for your time today. Thank you for your engagement, and thank you for taking this back to your teams and helping them understand there's a place for great bankers, and there's a need for great bankers. Our clients want it. Our clients deserve it. And there are prospects out there that haven't been exposed to the better brand of banking that you bring yet. And I really hope that this group and GPSMR is the team that brings that to them. I've been in another bank. I've seen how it's been done. And I can tell you that this is what I see at Columbia Bank, what I see in each of you, what I see out in the branches when I get the opportunity to be there. It's refreshing, and it's exactly what our clients and our communities need right now. I also want to take just a moment to thank everybody who helped put the summit on today. Megan,